Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the DC Collectibles, or DC Icons, Batman, which I was really excited for. You guys know I'm kind of partial to Batman, and a good Batman figure is always a good thing as far as I'm concerned. And here's the thing. I've been told, you guys know I don't watch other reviewers, I've been told that most people are giving these figures, this figure in particular, really high praises. I've been told that some people are saying it's lousy. And I have to say, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. I'll give you an overall judgment by the end of the review, but for now, it's just some parts are great and some parts are horrible. So let's just take a look at it, and we'll go from there. He stands roughly, to many people's surprise, to the top of his ears 6 inches, which makes him only about 15.5 centimeters, very close to that. So in comparison to a DC Universe Classics figure, which is 6-inch scale prior to this point, these are slightly bigger than 6-inch scale. He gets dwarfed. Now here's the thing. These guys are supposedly in the actual 1/12 scale, and I've been told that this particular version of Batman is not Bruce Wayne, so he should be around 5'10 or 5'11 in real life, which would put him just under 6 inches in this scale. So technically it's accurate if that's how you're doing it. And that's technically a good thing, except for the fact that none of the figures that are technically in the 6-inch scale are actually in the 6-inch scale. They're all like this. Even Marvel Legends are slightly bigger than they should be. Why is that pink? I just noticed that. I've had this guy for ages, and his elbow's pink. And it's definitely an official release. Anyway, they're all bigger than this, so that could be a problem for some people. If you are the kind of person that doesn't care about things matching in size, then this, I cannot fault it for being small overall, because it is technically in the proper scale. So that's okay, but that's up to you to decide what you think about that. Now, what I can fault it for is, well, there are quite a few things. So let's just go through it. First, let's look at the accessories. We get 2 fist hands on the figure. He comes that way in the package. So there they are. And then we also get a couple of other hands, which are gripping hands for the Batarang, which is cool. And then Batarangs, we get 2 of those. I'll show you those. And then we get this, which is like a line launcher, which is kind of cool. It has the line that actually goes through it with the hook on that end and the rope, and then on this end we have like a little ball. So that's kind of cool. And then lastly we have the 2 Batarangs, which are nice. Okay, so he's got some cool accessories, and that's a good thing. They did a good job with those. Some interchangeable hands, that's fine, that's nice. Now it depends on what you like in terms of articulation and sculpt and paint. Obviously he's got a better paint application and a unique sculpt, so he's definitely above par in terms of the 6-inch figure. So he's better than DCUC, better than Marvel Legends, technically speaking. Most of the sculpt is really good. Most of the paint is lined up nicely. You can see the belt has some shading on it, and the gold paint, and the little buttons and things, or whatever those are. So that's good. The gloves and boots are kind of glossy compared to the rest of the outfit, so that's a good thing. The Bat logo on his chest is lined up nicely. That's a good thing. The face paint is okay. It's not great. It'll do. Mine has a couple spots here and there, but it's not bad. So that's a good thing. Now, this is such an enigma of a figure, no pun intended. It's just, there are some serious issues. To me, his arms look way too short. And maybe it's just because his shoulders are particularly narrow, and maybe that's what it's supposed to be since it's not Bruce Wayne. But compared to his legs, his upper half just seems quite a bit small. It seems out of proportion. It looks a little bit off. That's something I can overlook. That's not the hugest deal. What I can't overlook is the fact that they sculpted a belly button right here when it should be down one set of abs. Nobody has their belly button that high. Nobody. Look where it is in relation to his junk. Nobody's belly button goes up that far, unless that's not supposed to be a belly button. But if it is, and it sure looks like it is, It's way too high, and it looks really, really weird. So he's got his six-pack, 1, 2, 3, or if you want to count this top row underneath the pecs, I'm not sure how people count those, but you have this kind of lower part of the abdominals that goes down into the junk, then this upper set that goes in by the pecs, then you have that 4-pack that's always in between somewhere. The belly button should be down at the bottom of that, but it's not. So that looks really, really weird to me. Maybe other people didn't notice that, but it looks really, really weird. Otherwise, the sculpt work is pretty darn good. I think it's got a very nice organic look to it. A lot of our figures these days are really blocky looking, so that's a good thing. It looks really nice. The cape is sculpted really well. I love the way they did the cape. I like the style of cape and the way it hangs. That's all good. Now we have to talk about the articulation, which is really hit or miss. On this guy, we have a single ball peg for the head, which I think is not really sufficient. You can't pose the head very well at all. It barely leans from side to side. You can rotate it, but as far as looking up and down, you get that, and you get that. So you really can't pose the head very well at all, and it's super tight where you can move it, so that's kind of a problem. The shoulders, they don't really have an issue. They do look a little bit strange when you bring them out, just because of the way they're offset, but that's the kind of thing I can overlook, because they did that so you can bring the arms all the way down, like this. So they go straight down, no problem. So that's a good thing, full range of motion this way. We have a bicep swivel, so that's a good thing. We have double jointed elbows, but the way the pegs are set, you still don't get much better than 90 degrees. And you can play around with it to try to get it to do better. You can, if you move the top one first a little bit, you can kind of force it to go just better than 90, but not by a whole lot. So the elbows are, it's not that great of a situation for being a double joint. 90 degrees isn't that good. There's no rotation back here. There is at the wrist, obviously, because they are interchangeable. So we can just rotate them and hinge them on their joints. No problem there. For the torso articulation, we have a diaphragm joint, and I'm not entirely sure how it's built because I haven't taken any of these apart. But it's super duper tight. I was told that some people even got them and they were stuck upon opening the package, so you had to finagle with it. Mine was not stuck. It's just really tight, and if you push it all the way back, it leans back a pretty good ways in conjunction with the ab crunch, which still looks weird because of that belly button. And then you can lean them forward, but it doesn't, the diaphragm joint doesn't go too far forward. It does a little bit. Most of that's coming from that lower ab crunch. So you get that much. You get about 45 degrees worth of play in the ab crunch, which is probably enough, but for having 2 points of articulation in the torso, he doesn't really have that much range. And then as far as rotation, you have to really force that diaphragm joint, and then it looks pretty weird the way they did that with those little serrator muscles. It's not technically what they're called, but with those muscles there, having those come down, it does look a little bit weird. It's not enough to really not buy the figure, of course, but it's an interesting design, and I don't know about it. Okay, so far it's okay. As far as the hips go, we can bring them all the way out to the side. The splits work wonderfully. No problem at all. The joints are nicely sculpted. Everything looks good. Do you want to bring the legs forward? You really can't. You have to bring them out like that if you want to bring them forward, which, as you can see, isn't actually forward. If you want to bring them straight forward, that's as far as you're going to get his leg to go. That's not good. Batman's supposed to be pretty agile, and you can't even bring his leg forward. So that sucks. There's no thigh swivel either. No way to rotate the thigh. Double jointed knee works fine, so that's a good thing. Nothing really surprising there. We have a boot swivel, but here's the thing about the boot swivel, and you can already kind of see it. The sculpt is horrible. When you line it up, it lines up on this side and sticks out way far on this side, on both boots, by the way. And if you want to look at it from this angle, you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. There's a huge flat gap right here, and on this side there's almost no gap, and on the back there's almost no gap. It doesn't line up at all properly. It looks really, 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 really bad. I don't know what they were thinking when they did that, but they weren't executing properly. Just looks bad. As far as the ankles go, we get good range, so that's good forward and back. Then our ankle rocker, it's like the new Marvel Legends, but it's a really vertical peg, so the foot comes off at this weird angle. So in order to actually use that ankle rocker, you can see right here, you're not going to be able to use that. You're going to have to rotate the boot around like this in order to get the foot into a usable position, which looks really bad. So a lot of things on this guy are probably good on paper, but in practice, they're really poorly executed, and it makes the figure overall kind of a dud. The torso articulation being so limited is not cool. The hips being terribly limited is really not cool. And then the head not working that well is pretty bad. Then we have the shins and the ankles that don't work well together. So articulation-wise, even though it's all there, it doesn't work that well. And like I said in my haul video, when they first showed this off and they showed the diagram of all the articulation, they mislabeled most of it. And that made me really worried. And now that they've produced the figure and it's at least halfway not well done, I don't know what they're doing. It's just not cool. It looks good basically in a standing pose like this. You can pose it some, and I'll pose it at the end so you can see. It's halfway a failure and halfway pretty cool, so I don't know. I've heard the other figures are better than Batman, but that's kind of disappointing considering Batman's like Batman. So I don't know whether you like this figure or not. I can't really say objectively if it's good or bad because there's so much going either way, so it's kind of up to you to just decide what you think. I'm going to say I only halfway recommend it. As a rule, I can't really go too far either way because there's good things and bad things. So I don't know. It's definitely not what I thought it would be. It's pretty disappointing in that it was supposed to be great and it's at least half bad. So I don't know. I'll stop talking about it. You guys can make your own informed opinions from there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. In the meantime, keep collecting.